I'm Greg, and welcome back to another episode of Hot Dogs Garage, where we're working on this 1969 Dodge Charger. And on today's episode, the American Auto Wire update harness. We're starting with part 1, which will be the main harness and the dash harness. So first, let's get the car out. Let's switch out some overhead light bulbs. Let's clean up the garage and lay everything out and get started on this wiring project, because these instructions are massive. Okay, let's go. All right, the wiring kit that we have is the American Auto Wire update harness for the 68 to 70 Mopar B-Body 510 634. And this kit comes all laid out and in individual bags. Like, this is the front light kit. We've got the rear light kit. We've got instrument cluster, which is going to be different because we've got the Dakota digital gauges, but rear body kit, the floor console, engine kit, main connection. We also got the dimmer switch, which we're actually going to need. And we've got it laid out here. So this is the dash harness, or I believe as they call it, the main harness, main dash harness, bag G, which is the first bag that we start with. So 68 to 70 start here, and then it tells you, pretty easy, you do this whole thing in 4 steps. Disconnect the battery, install the kit, and then reconnect your battery and go for a car drive. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Easy as 1, 2, 3. But I got everything all laid out here. I'm going to lay it out here, kind of identify everything. These kits are, this is the first time I've done this kit, and it's laid out very nice. So this is the bulkhead connector. We're gonna have to drill 2 holes, which is what we're gonna end up having to start with. And then every wire is labeled down to, I don't know if you could see that, brake switch, hazards, dash lights, ignition switch, the turn signal switch. Every single wire is labeled with what it actually goes to. I've had this kit for a while, so some of the printing on it is a little bit, but I mean, you could see the headlight, low beam, and everything mostly in this bag has the connections already in. So we are gonna have to do a little bit of connections, a little bit of modification, but I mean, most of these just plug right into the switches in the dash. So this is made for your stock dash switches, which is what I have. I do have the updated Dakota digital gauge cluster, but the wiper switch, the headlight switch, the washer switch, flashers, all of that is the completely rebuilt stock switches. So these should plug directly. Like this dimmer switch here, I believe, yep, this is the dimmer switch. They give you a dimmer switch, and it's literally plug and play. Bolt this down, and then this is gonna just clip right onto it. So like I said, there is a little bit of modification that you do have to do. For the instructions, they recommend these 2 crimping tools. I took their recommendation. I tried to get a Amazon knockoff of these, and they actually are nice enough, I believe it's this bag, to give you a bunch of practice terminals for you to practice crimping on. And I tried some knockoffs, did not get the perfect crimp. They were close, but I figured these guys are expensive, but I was actually able to find a used set on eBay for pretty darn cheap. So saw them get listed and made an offer that was accepted and got them right away. So like I said, it all comes in a kit. So you're going to start with the dash harness, then the floor, then the gauge cluster, rear body, front light, engine kit. So that seems to be pretty decent because we've got the dashboard and everything in ready to go. So this makes sense with what we're going. It gives you a breakdown of every circuit node here, what it's going to go to, cluster connections and all of this, which we're going to end up having to change that out with the Dakota Digital. But I ran into the guys at AutoWire at the last car show, and they do a lot of work with Dakota Digital, and they say it's pretty easy to whatever the wire would go into here, it just goes into their brain box. So instead of connecting this right to the cluster, you would connect this, strip off the end, and then just strip the wires right into the brain box there. Then that brain box plugs into the cluster, and it should be pretty straightforward. Gives you this mounting instructions here. Kind of just breaks down all the fuses and everything. And it's weird, you start the instructions on page 6. And these look daunting. And I've read through them a few times, and the more you read through them and kind of understand it, it gets a little bit easier. So I'll kind of summarize this up in a little bit here and kind of start you through the process of where I'm going to start at. Okay, step 1, they want you to take all the fuses out of this bag and put them into the fuse block over there. However, this kit came with all the fuses installed in the fuse box and had a bunch of extra ones as well. So there are some flashers in here that I'll need later, but I'm not going to plug the flashers in just yet until I can plug them in and set them into the dash. So that's step 1. Step 2, to replace your current steering column ground. They give you one. I don't know if this is longer or different than the original one that it came with, but they give you a brand new one. I don't have the steering column in, so step 1 and 2 is done. Step 3, they talk about the dash routing harness, how you're going to mount this in, and after that they want you to put this bulkhead attachment on. So this is going to mount in the Firewall, is same spot as the factory, and you do have to drill 2 holes, and they give you a template to do that. They tell you to put this on a sticker, but I don't have any sticker paper, so I just made a direct copy of it and cut out the middle. And I'm going to line this up into the engine compartment, punch these out, drill that, and mount that. However, before I start doing that, I wanted to lay this out and kind of see how it's going to sit into the car, because it's going to be a little tight getting in there trying to figure out where it's going to go. So once this is mounted, it says the harness initially routes downward. So I guess there's 2 ways that it could go, but they want the wires to initially route downward, and then this is going to go up into the back of the dash. So this would be circuit node 1, I believe, and then this coming off of here is what they call circuit node 2. And this is going to be your turn signal switch, your ignition, and they actually have a jumper, so it'll plug. This plugs right in, your ignition plugs right, there's a jumper from here right to the back of the ignition switch. So literally plug and play there. And then this is going to go down to your brake switch, brake light switch, literally 1 to either side. And then this is a clutch ground, which I don't have a 4-speed. So the ones that I'm not going to use, I'm just going to kind of curl up here, put a little zip tie on, and throw some tape around the end. I don't really want to start cutting things out of the harness. Don't have a clutch, not going to put a 4-speed in it, but this is all part of the harness, and I just don't feel like hacking away this harness and messing things up. Or if you need a piece of wire later, you know where there's some extra wire. So we'll figure out where that goes. So that's going to go into the Firewall. This is going to be the first connector here, actually, to the back of the dash. That first one is going to go there. This is going to come out of that. Like I said, this is going to go right to the ignition switch in the dash, and then right to the turn signal switch. This is going to go down to your brake switch and the clutch if you had one. This one routes to the right. This up here is going to be your radio, power, and ground. I'm just going to throw that right out of the front because I don't have a radio yet, so that's later. You got dash lights. They give you an extra accessory for some dash lights. You have your wiper switch here, and then your wet washer. There's a flasher here. Then this goes all the way over into your dash harness, which this is going to be, forget it's written on here. Oh, this is a courtesy light switch, so they give you a couple courtesy lights to mount under that. This is going to be turn signal. These are all your clusters, electronic speedometer ground cable. Like if you have an aftermarket electronic speedometer, which I will, they give you a separate ground for that. That's got to be grounded on its own. What's this one? Turn switch feed. So that's going to go to the turn switch. And then this is going to go down to the dimmer switch. And this is going to be your dome light, I believe. And this is going to be your headlight switch. It's going to plug into the back of the headlights. So pretty easy there. Then coming over to the other side, you've got an accessory plug here. This is going to mount inside the glove box. Accessory plug here that we're not going to use because this is power window or power seat, so we don't have any of that. This is going to be ignition, an ignition jumper, and this is dash lights. Again, they give you a whole bunch of different options if you're going to have the map light and stuff like that, which I don't have a lot of these options. And then this is another one for the ground switches and for the door switch. When you open the door, it'll turn the dome lights on. So, and then a ground for that one. So I think this is kind of how it's laid out. I think I'm going to kind of get organized here, and then I'm going to move everything off of the hood so I can pop the hood, put this template up, and drill this. Also, this is going to mount permanently in the firewall, and then this is going to permanently attach to the dash. So I don't know, I think maybe some people will maybe wire this into the dash and then install the dash into the car and then mount this, but I think I'm just going to actually permanently mount the dashboard into the car and then start installing the wiring, because that way I can actually clamp it all into place and then set it down in there, and I'm just gonna have to lay down on my back and put a blanket down and get comfortable. But now that I have this all laid out, mark up what I'm gonna connect first, identify where everything is gonna go, and then mount this into the firewall, and then we'll get going in there. Actually, dashboard, then mount this. Keep going. This is fine. It's not that hard. Looks intimidating. It's not that hard. So I went to drill the holes in the firewall and realized my drill is dead. So I needed a new drill. So I went to go mount the dashboard in, and I realized that I hadn't mounted the vents in yet. So I went to go mount the vents in, and I realized I didn't have the right size speed nuts for the back. So I had to go get the right size speed nuts for these and a new drill. So now I can mount these in, then mount the dash in, then mount the bulkhead connector. Okay. All right, dash is mounted, wires are laying in here, ready to go. Got the 2 bolts on either side, 6 across the top. Now we can get back to drilling the 2 holes up in there for the bulkhead connector. Holes are drilled in the firewall, and the Bulkhead connector gets secured by 2 of these 1/4 20 with 2 nylock nuts and 4 washers. So obviously the screw a washer on the outside, and then there'll be a washer and then a nut on the inside. Doesn't really say which way it goes, but I think it'll look cleaner if the screws are on this side. So I'm gonna put it through this way and have Jackson hold the nuts, and we'll keep going. All right, bulkhead connector's mounted. That bottom screw is right on a dimple from like how they've pressed it from the factory. So can't tighten that one up all the way without some sort of a spacer to stand that off, and then I'll need a longer 1/4 20. But top one's in and snug down. I just need to get a longer 1/4 20 and a spacer on that one, and we'll be good. Then we have it all in here. Flashlight, sir. So you can see it is up in here. These come down originally like the instructions say, so that is the proper orientation. And I've just kind of laid it out, and I'm gonna start going through it. Like this is the ignition one, so there'll be a jumper into that one, so that's perfect length. This is the steering column, which will end up right here, which is perfect. And this is gonna go up into this wire one here, or this wire clamp there, and then it's gonna start running that way and this way, and we'll start connecting it up. All right, get the hood back down and everything laid back out. So step 1 is done for putting all the fuses in. Step 2, mounting the bulkhead assembly, or I guess that's step 1 for circuit node 1. Then attach the main trunk to the back side like I just pointed out. Then it would be the turn signal switch, which I don't have the steering column, so we're gonna skip over that. Then the next step for 68 and 69s is to get this jumper switch for the ignition. This is gonna plug right into the harness, and then that's gonna snap right into the back of the ignition switch, and there's only one possible way that it could go. So that'll take care of the ignition switch. We don't have a 1970. We don't have a 1970 with a manual transmission. So that's really gonna be it for circuit node 1. So you could see circuit node 1 has the pigtail for the steering column harness, which we'll plug in once we put that in. The clutch for 70, which we won't need. These will just go to the brake switch on the brake pedal, and then that's the jumper to the ignition. So screw that in, all that mounted, and then we can move on to circuit node 2. Okay, there's the jumper installed for the ignition, and then this is gonna go right on the back of the switch there, so that will plug straight into there. And I will be moving on now to circuit node 2, which is gonna be pretty easy. It's a flasher, so we're gonna take a flasher, connect that into here, the radio and the ground, which I don't have. So I'm just gonna route these right out the front of the dash. There's a reverse light warning. That's for 4-speed manual transmissions only. Won't need that. And 8G here is for the dash light candelabra, which is just gonna be any other feed for dash light. So that'll get dimmed with the dash light. So I don't have any extra accessories that I need for dash lights right now. So I won't need that. So just connect the flashers, route that out the front, and ignore those two, and that'll be it for circuit node 2. And on to circuit node 3, which circuit node 3 is going to be the windshield wiper switch and washer switch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connectors. This one's going to go to the switch. Connector 2 goes to the switch, and that one goes to the switch that's marked BU. This one goes to the switch that's marked with an R, and then these two will go to the washer switch. This switch is only used in the 3-speed. So I have the 3-speed wiper, so this goes to the wiper switch, wiper switch, and then these two go to the washer switch. And then that will be circuit node 3. And then I'm gonna show you right now the underside of circuit node 1, 2, which is the radio, and 3, which is the washer. All right, kind of a dark mess. but the ignition switch is plugged in, which is part of circuit node 1. 2 is the radio and the flashers, which I just have routed up there for now. And then 3 is the wiper switch and washer switch. So once we keep going, like all of these still are just laying down. So this all still needs to get cleaned up, but at least we know where everything's going to start living. And then this is routed, or these are routed up the proper way now, and then down over and out over here. So this is a spaghetti mess. So on to circuit node 4. Circuit node 4 is just going to be the speedometer ground for an electric speedometer ground, another flasher, your cluster connections, and then panel dimmer switch, headlight switch, and flasher. And these just clipped right in to the switches. These I left hanging out because we're gonna get those with the dash harness or the cluster harness when we do the Dakota Digitals. The other side of circuit node 4 is just a courtesy light. I'm gonna put this up. I don't know where I'm gonna actually mount it, but it's already clipped. It already comes ready to clip together, and then just put a light bulb in it and it'll work when you open the doors. So that is circuit node 4. Circuit node 5 is your left-hand parking brake switch and the door jamb, and then the dimmer switch, the rear body, and the dome light. So that all just hangs down here on the left side of the car. Pretty simple there. And then on to circuit node 7, which again is going to be really easy because I don't have an ashtray light, I don't have the heater switch, I don't have a map light, I don't have a cigar lighter, and I don't have the VSS, the vehicle speed sensor, because that's going to be run through my Dakota Digital gauges. So it's literally plugging in the horn relay from the fuse kit and then just dangling the floor console kit for later. So that is pretty darn simple. Not doing anything with the floor console kit. Then that was circuit node 7 and 8. Circuit node 9 is also very easy because it is just the fuse block that you need to mount into here. And then circuit node, and then the accessory connectors. So again, this accessory connector is going to come out, and it's going to have just a regular battery feed for hazard or audio systems, a 15 amp fused, and then a spot for fuel pump if you want to add an electronic fuel pump, power seats, power locks, power windows, another 12 volt battery fuse, spare 30 amp for whatever options you need. That's this connector. Comes with the other side, so just run that out in case we need it. I'm not doing power seats, power locks, power windows, nothing. Maybe a fuel pump later, maybe, but I'm not sure. And then circuit node 10 is literally just another courtesy light that plugs in, and then the door jamb switch for the passenger door so the dome light opens when you open it, and a glove compartment light, which I don't have because this vehicle didn't have it originally. That is literally it. It goes really fast once you, depending on what you have as far as option wise. Once you get to circuit node 4, I literally flew through these other ones. A courtesy light, parking brake, you just route those in. Heater switches don't have console. You mount this into the glove box, which I'll show you here in a second. And I actually went and grabbed my steering column. So I'm gonna hook these up. It's actually this top one. Pretty much the same. The 70 has an extra pink wire. The 69 doesn't. And it lays all that out. So we'll put the turn switch signal for the American Water wire onto my steering column, and then I'll show you how I mounted the fuse blocks in the glove compartment, and that's really going to be it for this bag. Still gonna mess with this harness and these instructions later, because all the other ones, like the rear body connector and the gauge harness and everything, is all going to feed back into this main harness. So it seems like it was a decently quick install, but we still got a lot more work to do on this because everything else is going to feed into this harness.
Main dash harness is mostly in. We got this to the bulkhead connector. These are going to be to the brake light switch and the clutch switch. This is the jumper to the ignition. This is going to go to the steering column, which I fixed, so I'll show you that in a second. Then it comes over. This is a courtesy light. These are going to be the connectors to the dash, which we have the Dakota Digital, so that's going to be a separate video. Then we also have the ground that I need to hook up. Then this is all going to go to the rear body. This is the dome light. We've got the dome light wires from the top here. Then we've got the plug to the rear body. And then this is going to be that dimmer switch right there. Then over to this side, that's the vehicle's electric speedometer ground. This is going to be the courtesy light wires for over here. And then the fuse box is mounted inside the glove box. So that's all in there, and you can see it's, sorry it's dark, but you could see all of the routing here. And then I'll show you the connections I made for the steering column, and that will be it for this install. And the next one will be the gauge cluster install for the Dakota Digitals, and then after that will be the rear body, which will be this set that runs to the back. Okay, so the fuse block box is mounted right in the glove compartment, and it's just got three screws, and I cut the bottom out of this back panel so these wires could mount in there. That factory mounting location for the factory fuse block, because the factory fuse block was mounted behind here onto this, but that creates a little problem for the wire routing. I tried to go that way, then I ended up going this way, so I just cut the bottom of this out. I don't really see a problem with it, other than when you open the glove box, you can see way back behind the dash. So just a visual thing you can see back there. But I mean, that's probably not going to be an issue. Good thing the glove box liners are only $19, so if it really bothers me later, it's just a couple screws along the bottom side and top, and then this just 3 screws to take this out, and that will slide back out. So that is looking good. All right, got the steering column, which I actually rebuilt a long time ago, but it came with this, I put in this aftermarket turn signal switch, and it came with this style connectors already crimped on, and then the connector for the stock harness, which the American Auto Wire does not use these connectors or that stock harness. It uses this flat connector that I showed you in the car, and then these style connectors that will plug in to here. And then the instructions tell you for 68 and 70 which wire goes to what, and then it'll actually give you the connection and tell you exactly which one it goes into this connector here. Then you snap these into the back, and then once I install the steering column, it will go plug right into this one. And again, all these wires are going to get cleaned up top. I just have them obviously all hanging down so we can have easier access to them. So that is the install for the complete dash harness, and that is it. Okay, thanks for watching. That's going to be it for part 1 of the wiring harness for the American Auto Wire update, the main dash harness. And we will be revisiting that harness again once we do the rear body, the engine, the gauge cluster. We'll be making a lot of connections into that, but we've got a really solid foundation. I just want to take a second to say thank you. I reached over 100 subscribers. I think I'm at 102 as of filming this, so really appreciate all of that, and didn't think I would get more than a couple, but appreciate that. And in honor of the 100th subscriber on this one, my middle son decided to take it upon himself to crochet me a hot dog. So I don't have a hot dog for this one, but I do have a lovely crocheted hot dog. I think we gotta find a way to hang this from the rear view mirror up there. Just let that float up there while we're driving down the road. Maybe he can knit up a thing to hang it over that.